questions.
All right, let's begin. Hello, MilanMUN. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to address you all today. My name is Tom Chidiac, and I'm the Vice Consul at the U.S. Consulate General Milan. I serve the American people as a Foreign Service Officer, meaning I'm a member of America's Diplomatic Corps representing my people abroad. I want to commend you all on your participation in this competition. Model UN tournaments are exactly how you, the next generation of foreign policy leaders, will develop diplomatic skills that'll serve you and your countries for a lifetime. Like you, I'm a true believer in the mission of Model UN tournaments. These events allow you to explore the most important topics facing world leaders today: human rights, the environment, nuclear proliferation, conflict resolution, and many more. You will challenge yourselves and each other as you address these complex and difficult matters. This is the same way that the international community searches for the best solutions in forums like the real United Nations. Now, you will share perspectives and special interests of the country you are assigned to represent. And in doing so, you will experience firsthand the delicate and difficult task of going beyond your personal positions to support the interests and policies of the countries you represent for this conference. Now, this is all excellent training for a career in foreign affairs. In fact, I would say that you could draw a straight line from my first Model UN tournament freshman year of high school to where I sit today. I'd been interested in international affairs ever since I was a child when I attended an international school in London with students from all around the world. When I finally got to high school, I joined my school's Model United Nations team immediately. And I loved the thrill of competition and enjoyed applying everything I learned about foreign affairs in committee. And I learned that there's a big difference between reading about the news and actually making history, even in the context of a simulation like Model United Nations. Now, with my classmates, we competed all across the US and Canada. It was an amazing opportunity to meet students from totally different walks of life and compare notes on culture, personal challenges, political and social perspectives, and more. Do not miss the chance to make some new friends during this competition. Now, Model UN grew to be the primary focus of my high school years, and I rose to be the head delegate for my school and helped classmates achieve great successes in the most competitive tournaments of our day. Together, we learned how to advocate for and balance out interests rather than just stake out positions. Interests are what matter to your country, while just positions can be a rigid stance that causes you to miss creative solutions to shared challenges. I encourage you during this tournament to consider your interests and try to balance them with the interests of your peers before trying to stake out political red lines. Now, overall, I learned far more at Model United Nations than even in my actual classes. Most importantly, I grew as a foreign affairs professional, and I came out of high school ready to start working internationally as an adult. Now, since then, I've lived and worked in 6 countries, earned degrees in international politics, economics, and foreign affairs, and even joined the US Foreign Service. Now, my work today is no longer a simulation. I now represent my country and foster camaraderie with our close allies for real. Keep at it, and I'm sure all of you can succeed as foreign affairs professionals when you become adults. Now, back to the conference ahead. You will be challenged to come up with the best solutions for the country you represent and to reconcile those interests with the interests of your colleagues and with the broader principles of the United Nations. I urge you to apply the skills you will develop here in the many different contexts that require collaborative problem solving in your lives, whether it's your personal life, your professional life, or your civic life. Always work towards the best solution for the interests you represent without losing sight of what is right and what is just. Once again, it was a pleasure to be here today. The U.S. Consulate General Milan is proud to support this event. Best of luck. Thank you. And I'm excited to take your questions. Domande?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chidiac, for your speech. It has been an honor for us. And we will now entertain some questions from our students. So you can raise your hand if you have a question, and I'll bring the microphone to you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Consul, for your speech. I wanted to ask, what's the most difficult part of your job?
Yes. So let me tell you a little bit more about the job that I'm doing right now. I am the American Citizen Services Chief here at our consulate, which means that I manage everything that we do on behalf of our own citizens while they're living here in Italy. And that means there are lots of happy moments. We help renew people's passports. They can go travel. When American citizens have a baby living in northern Italy, we get to recognize that baby as America's newest American citizen. But on the more difficult side, we also help Americans who find themselves in some sort of difficulty here in Italy. Last week, I went to visit an American citizen in prison to help advise him on his rights, check on his well being, and communicate with his family what was going on with his incarceration. The most difficult aspect of my job is dealing with tragedy. When an American citizen dies abroad, it's our job to contact their family, inform them, and help make sure that they understand what next steps they can take to respectfully recognize the death of their loved one. And so it's these in these difficult moments that require lots of empathy and sensitivity that I feel the most challenged.
Thank you. We're now having another question from our delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Consul, for your speech. I was wondering what were the steps that you had to make in order to undertake such a career pattern?
Yes. Okay, so one of the things that is special about the US Foreign Service is that you don't need to have a particular background, you don't need to have specific degrees, but you do have to uh, succeed in a meritocratic selection process that is very complex and very long. So, uh, my background, though, is oriented towards foreign affairs. Like I mentioned during my speech, I studied foreign affairs and economics. I had some international work experience before applying to join the Foreign Service. But our selection process is very long and difficult. There's a written exam, and after you pass that, you have to submit a series of personal essays. And if you pass that, there is an all-day oral exam. And if you pass that, there's a whole series of clearances to make sure that you're suitable to represent the United States. And then finally, at the end of that process, you may be invited to join the US Foreign Service. And that whole process from start to finish took me about a year and a half. So it can be very complex, but I would have no other career. I'm so happy to be a Foreign Service officer, and I encourage all of you to pursue diplomacy once you're adults.
Okay, thank you. We're now listening to our last question.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Prego.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Consul, for your speech. My question is quite simple. It is an issue that we have to face here in modern United Nations. When it comes to representing your country, how do you deal when you have to stand for ideas that you personally don't share, but you have to support for the sake of your country?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in my capacity as a Foreign Service officer, I represent the American people and the government that the American people have elected, right? I'm not here just representing myself. And so when we join the Foreign Service, we actually swear an oath like this to uphold the US Constitution. And so I understand that it's my job not to just spout my own opinion, but to apply all of my skills, all of my critical thinking and abilities to advancing the policies that are set out by our political leaders who've been elected by the American people. And so it's that respect for American democracy and the will of the American people that can drive me to apply the law and pursue our interests, even if I don't always agree with the policies of the administration.
Okay, thank you, Vice Consul.